Welcome back, everyone, to the Wedge 52 Gridiron podcast. I'm your host, Wedge. Today's episode will be the Week 12 NFL League-wide recap, filled with 3 Thanksgiving football games, the first ever Black Friday NFL game, as well as a NFL record going down in the history books, and much, much more. Before we jump in today, please make sure you give this page a follow right here on Spotify, as well as on Instagram at Wedge52Gridiron, and share this podcast with your fellow NFL and Baltimore Ravens fans. Let's jump in with the first Thanksgiving matchup of Week 12 between the Packers and the Lions. The Packers upset the Lions 29-22. Jared Goff went 29 for 44, 332 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and no interceptions. David Montgomery on the ground had 15 rushes for 71 yards and a touchdown. And Amon-Ra St. Brown continued his very productive season with 9 catches for 95 yards on the day. Not enough from that Lions offense to get the job done against the Packers. Jordan Love went 22 for 32, 268 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and no interceptions, as well as 3 rushes for 39 yards. Wide receiver Christian Watson had himself a nice game with 5 catches for 94 yards and a touchdown, while rookie wide receiver Jaden Reed had 4 catches for 34 yards and a touchdown, as well as 2 rushes for 16 yards. Defensive standout for edge rusher Rashawn Gary, who had 7 tackles, 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and a fumble recovery in the victory over the Detroit Lions. The Lions still hold the 2 seed, I believe, in the NFC conference. Potentially the 3 seed if the Niners snuck in at that 2 spot. I have not checked. Moving into the next Thanksgiving game was the Commanders at Cowboys. Cowboys took care of business easily in that one, 45-10. Sam Howell had 28 out of 44 completions for an even 300 yards, no passing touchdowns, and an interception, as well as 2 rushes for 13 yards and a touchdown on the day. His favorite target on last Thursday was Curtis Samuel with 9 catches for 100 yards receiving. On the other side, Dak Prescott went 22 for 32, 331 passing yards, and 4 passing touchdowns with no interceptions. Another 4 touchdown plus performance by Dak Prescott. Pollard found himself in the end zone yet again on 13 carries for 79 yards and that rushing touchdown, as well as 6 catches for 29 yards on the day. The receiving core performed strong yet again for Dak Prescott. Brandon Cooks, 4 catches for 72 yards and a touchdown, while CeeDee Lamb had 4 catches for 53 yards and a touchdown on the day. And then NFL record broken by Deron Bland, got his pick 6, the 6th one of the season for him. Absolutely incredible. NFL record that, has been around for a while. Deron Bland with 6 pick 6s in 11 games so far this season that he's played in. Absolutely incredible. On Thursday, he also paired that record-breaking pick 6 with 10 tackles on the day. So great game by Deron Bland. He's really been, having a great season. I would say potentially climbing that ladder. Got to be in the top 5 Defensive Player of the Year conversation off the top of my head. So congrats to him on that one. And then the Thursday night football matchup, 49ers took down the Seahawks 31-13. Geno Smith went 18 for 27, 180 passing yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. Jordan Brooks, linebacker over there for Seattle, had 12 tackles and a pick 6 himself. Brock Purdy, 21 for 30, 209 passing yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Christian McCaffrey, continuing to be the best running back in the NFL this season. 19 carries for 114 yards and 2 touchdowns, as well as 5 catches for 25 yards on the day. And then Deebo Samuel, had his highest game in production in quite a few weeks here. I know he was hurt for part of that, dealing with that. 7 catches for 79 yards, as well as 4 rushes for 15 yards and a touchdown on the day for Deebo Samuel. First ever Black Friday game was between the Dolphins and the Jets in New York City, New Jersey, whatever. The Dolphins took them down 34-13. Boyle got the start, went 27 for 38, 179 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Not drastically different numbers than quarterback Zach Wilson. Garrett Wilson, wide receiver, had 7 catches for 44 yards and a touchdown for the Jets there. And then Tua, for that Dolphins offense, 21 out of 30, 243 passing yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Raheem Mostert, 20 carries for 94 yards and a pair of touchdowns there with 2 on the day. And then Jalen Waddle, 8 for 114 receiving. Tyreek Hill, 9 for 102 yards receiving, as well as a touchdown for Tyreek, who has been on an absolute tear this year. I would say the best wide receiver in the league this year, edging out probably A.J. Brown at that 2 spot. And then it's up for more discussion. Obviously, Jay Jettis has been hurt. Adams has, struggled some weeks. Diggs is probably up there. CeeDee Lamb's probably up there. Amon-Ra is probably up there. That's not the topic of today's episode. And then as well for that Dolphins defense, Javon Holland had the 99-yard pick 6 on the, intercepted screen attempt, or Hail Mary attempt, by the New York Jets. I'm sure many of you guys have seen that clip by now, as that was on Black Friday. Moving on to the Sunday action, Jaguars took down the Texans 24-21 in a critical, divisional as well as AFC seeding game between the Jaguars and the Texans. Both teams have very good records, look like they could be strong contenders in the playoffs. I wouldn't say, AFC conference contenders, I don't think yet, or definitely not Super Bowl contenders yet. But the Jaguars and Texans both look like promising teams. Very high chance, in my opinion, that both of them make the playoffs here. So this one, could have implications later down the road. C.J. Stroud, 26 for 36, 304 yards, 2 touchdowns on the day, as well as 6 rushes for 47 yards and a touchdown. Nico Collins had 7 catches for 104 yards and a touchdown, and Tank Dell had 5 catches for 50 yards and a touchdown for the Houston Texans in the loss. Trevor Lawrence went 23 for 38, 364 passing yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Travis Etienne, 20 attempts for 56 yards on the ground. And then a pair of solid performances from the Jaguar wide receivers. Christian Kirk, 4 catches for 89 yards. And Calvin Ridley, 5 catches for 89 yards and a touchdown. The Steelers and Bengals faced off. The Steelers took down the Bengals 16-10. Browning, 19 for 26, 227 yards, a touchdown, and an interception for that Bengals team that just looked, bad. They were just finally starting to hit a stride on offense with Joe Burrow. Then he went down with that injury. The Bengals offense, it's going to be a struggle for them the rest of the season. Jamar Chase, 4 catches for 81 yards. On the other side, Steelers' first game without offense coordinator Matt Canada. He was relieved of his duties last week. First time the Steelers have done that in a long time. And then as a result, their offense went over 400 yards for the first time in a long time as well. I want to say pushing 2 or 3 seasons off the top of my head. I don't remember for sure, but I want to say it was, in the high 20s, maybe 30s, games since they had a 400, yard offensive performance. Kenny Pickett, 24 for 33, 278 passing yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Najee Harris had 15 carries for 99 yards and a touchdown. And tight end Pat Freiermuth really showed out and helped Kenny Pickett, helped that new offense with 9 catches for 120 yards. And then defensively, TJ Watt came to play against divisional opponent, had 5 tackles, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble for TJ Watt. off the edge for Pittsburgh. Moving on to the Panthers and Titans. Titans won 17-10. Quarterback Bryce Young went 18 for 31, 194 yards, no touchdowns, and no interceptions, as well as 3 rushes for 23 yards. Running back Chuba Hubbard, 14 carries for 45 yards and a touchdown. And rookie wide receiver Jonathan Mingo, 4 catches for 60 yards. Will Levis for the Titans, 18 for 28, 185 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. That's okay in this game for him because Derrick Henry returned to, the closest we've seen him in his King Henry status so far this season, with 18 carries for 76 yards and 2 touchdowns for Mr. Derrick Henry in the victory over the Carolina Panthers. And then wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins pitched in 3 catches for 49 yards. Moving on to the Falcons and Saints. Falcons won that one 24-15. This one could very well determine the winner of the division. Both teams currently sit at 5-6, I want to say. And the Falcons are currently leading that division with the tiebreaker over New Orleans. Derek Carr, 24 for 38, 304 yards, 0 touchdowns, and an interception. Alvin Kamara, 15 rushes for 69 yards and 4 catches for 50 yards. Wide receiver Chris Olave had 7 catches for 114 yards. And then defensively, Tyrann Mathieu, Honey Badger, had 4 tackles and 2 interceptions on the day. Not enough to get the job done against the Falcons, who started Desmond Ridder again this week after Taylor Heineke went 1-1 or 0-2, I believe. And Ridder has, been 4-4 so far this season. Desmond Ridder, 13 for 21, 168 yards, touchdown, and 2 interceptions in his return. Rookie tailback Bijan Robinson carried much of the load, 16 rushes for 91 yards and a touchdown, as well as 3 catches for 32 yards and a touchdown for the Atlanta Falcons. Drake London, 5 catches for 91 yards. And Jesse Bates, who's having a phenomenal season as well. 12 tackles and a 92-yard pick 6 in that victory over the Saints. The Bucs and the Colts faced off, with the Colts edging them out 27-20. Baker Mayfield went 24-30, 199 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Running back Rachaad White, 15 carries for 100 yards. Mike Evans, 6 catches for 70 yards and 2 touchdowns. Mike Evans has been having himself a great season as well in what is most likely going to be his last season in Tampa Bay after the, preseason or off-season, contract dispute, not getting the extension he was looking for. Mike Evans, I'm sure, will be a very hot commodity in this upcoming offseason. Obviously, a long ways to go before that, but I'm sure he will be very, very desirable. On the other side of the ball, Gardner Minshew went 24 for 41, 251 passing yards, no touchdowns, and an interception, as well as 3 rushes for 6 yards and a touchdown. Jonathan Taylor, 15 carries, 91 yards, and 2 touchdowns on the day for him. He did injure his thumb, I believe, as having surgery that will keep him out for 2 to 3 weeks. That's the second time Jonathan Taylor is going to be missing time this season. And he also had the contract issues prior to the season and most likely will be, available next offseason. Michael Pittman, 10 catches for 107 yards for that Colts, leading receiver there for Michael Pittman. Patriots and Giants played 7-10. New York Giants get the win. Mac Jones started, went 12 for 21, 89 yards, no touchdowns, and 2 interceptions, which led to him getting benched yet again. Bailey Zappi came in and went 9 for 14, 54 yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. They definitely, have a problem at quarterback. I'm sure they will be in the market come the 2024 NFL draft. The only bright spot for that offense was Ramondre Stevenson, who had 21 carries for 89 yards and a touchdown in the loss. Tommy DeVito, 17 for 25, 191 yards, a touchdown, and no interceptions. His leading receiver this week was rookie Jalen Hyatt out of Tennessee, 5 catches for 109 yards, accounting for 109 out of 191 of DeVito's passing yards. That Browns defense, got kind of shown up by that Denver Broncos offense this week, with the Broncos winning that game 29-12. Dorian Thompson-Robinson got the start, went 14 for 24, 134 yards, and a touchdown, no interceptions. He did leave the game with a concussion, which led to quarterback P.J. Walker coming in, who went 6 for 13, 56 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Jerome Ford, 9 rushes for 65 yards. David Njoku, 6 catches for 59 yards. Russell Wilson for the Broncos offense, 13 of 22, 134 passing yards, 1 touchdown, and no interceptions, as well as 11 rushes for 34 yards and a touchdown. Running back Javonte Williams, 18 carries for 65 yards. Running back Samaje Perine, 7 rushes for 55 yards and a touchdown. And wide receiver Courtland Sutton with 3 catches and 61 yards to add to his season. Divisional game between the Rams and the Cardinals had the Rams coming out on top 37-14. Kyler Murray went 27 for 45, 256 yards, a touchdown, and no interceptions, as well as 1 carry for a 2-yard touchdown on the ground. Marquise Hollywood Brown, 6 catches for 88 yards on the day. On the other side of that one, Matthew Stafford, 25 for 33, 229 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. It was a big day for a couple of guys on that Los Angeles Rams offense, starting with Kyren Williams. First game back from injury, 16 carries for 143 yards, as well as 6 catches for 61 yards and 2 touchdowns. Their other running back, Mr. Royce, 13 rushes for 77 yards and a touchdown. And then receiving, Tutu Atwell, 3 catches for 76 yards. And tight end Higbee, 5 catches for 29 yards and 2 touchdowns on the day there. So definitely a great performance by that Rams offense, by Kyren Williams, Higbee, Stafford, all performed very, very well. And then potentially what was the game of the week between the Bills and the Eagles. The Eagles, took down the Bills in overtime, 37-34. The Bills got the ball first, marched down the field, got a field goal after a miscommunication on an option route by Gabriel Davis. Davis had the intention of bending that out and running the corner choice, while Josh Allen saw his receiver behind the defender early and thought it was going to be the seam choice there. Led to them kicking a field goal. The Eagles, marched it back down and ended up winning that game on a Jalen Hurts walk-off touchdown run. Josh Allen played very well. 29 for 51 passing attempts, 339 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception, as well as 9 rushes for 81 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Buffalo Bills wide receiver duo performed up to par. Gabe Davis, 6 catches for 105 yards and a touchdown, while Stephon Diggs had 6 catches for 74 yards and a touchdown. Not enough in this one against those Eagles, who have the best record in the NFL. Jalen Hurts, 18 for 31, 200 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and 1 interception, as well as 14 rushes for 65 yards and 2 touchdowns as well. Running back DeAndre Swift, 14 rushes for 80 yards. Devontae Smith, 7 catches for 106 yards and a touchdown. And A.J. Brown, 5 catches for 37 yards and a touchdown for him in the OT thriller victory for the Philadelphia Eagles. The Chiefs and Raiders, Chiefs took them down 31-17. At one point, they were down by 14, ended up winning the game by 14. Aiden O'Connell for the Raiders, 23 for 33, 248 yards, a touchdown, and no interceptions. Josh Jacobs had himself a day, 20 rushes for 110 yards and a touchdown, as well as 4 catches for 15 yards. Jacoby Myers, 6 catches for 79 yards and a touchdown, and Devontae Adams, 5 catches for 73 yards. On the other side of that one, Patrick Mahomes, he went 27 for 34, 298 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. Running back Isaiah Pacheco, 15 carries for 55 yards and 2 touchdowns. Rookie wide receiver Rashee Rice had himself a day with 8 catches for 107 yards and a touchdown. And then Travis Kelce had 6 catches and 91 yards. Heading into the Sunday Night Football matchup between the Ravens and Chargers in LA on prime time. The Ravens won that one 20-10. Some quick stats here on this one. If you want my full recap and analysis breakdown, players of the game for that Ravens versus Chargers matchup, please check out yesterday's episode. That is all about the Baltimore Ravens Week 12 game against those Los Angeles Chargers. Herbert, though, went 29 for 44, 217 yards, touchdown, and an interception, as well as 4 rushes for 47 yards. Austin Eckler, 10 carries for 32 yards, 5 catches for 32 yards. Keenan Allen, 14 for 106, and Khalil Mack, 6 tackles and 2 sacks. But that Baltimore offense struggled. Defense kept them in check, kept them in the game. Lamar Jackson, 18 for 32, 177 yards, a touchdown, and no interceptions, while having 11 rushes for 39 yards. Mr. Zay Flowers, the rookie, 5 catches for 25 yards and a touchdown, as well as 1 37-yard rushing touchdown. The Ravens defense forced 4 turnovers on the night against those Chargers. Moving to the Monday Night Football game. This one, back and forth, between turnovers, really. Bears won that one 12-10 against the Vikings. Josh Dobbs, 22 for 32, 185 yards, a touchdown, and 4 interceptions. TJ Hawkinson, 5 catches for 50 yards and a touchdown. Danielle Hunter, 9 tackles, 1.5 sack, and a forced fumble on the night. On the other side, Justin Fields, 27 for 37, 217 passing yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, 12 rushes for 59 yards, as well as 2 fumbles for Justin Fields. And then DJ Moore, 11 catches for 114 yards. That's a full recap on every single Week 12 matchup, stats, thoughts on every single one of those games. Now leading into my power rankings heading into Week 13. Coming in at number 32 this week, the Carolina Panthers. 31, the New England Patriots. 30, the Chicago Bears. 29, the New York Giants. 28, the Tennessee Titans. 27, Arizona Cardinals. 26, Tampa Bay Bucks. 25, Green Bay Packers. 24, New York Jets. 23, Indianapolis Colts. 22, Los Angeles Rams. 21, Washington Commanders. 20, Cincinnati Bengals. 19, New Orleans Saints. 18, Las Vegas Raiders. 17, Minnesota Vikings. 16, Atlanta Falcons. 15, Pittsburgh Steelers. 14, Los Angeles Chargers. 13, Seattle Seahawks. 12, Cleveland Browns. 11, the Denver Broncos. 10, the Houston Texans. 9, the Buffalo Bills. 8, the Detroit Lions. 7, the Jacksonville Jaguars. 6, the Miami Dolphins. And then the top 5 Wedge 52 Gridiron Power Rankings heading into Week 13. At number 5 is the Dallas Cowboys. At number 4, the San Francisco 49ers. At number 3, the Baltimore Ravens. At number 2, the Kansas City Chiefs. And at number 1, the Philadelphia Eagles. The biggest gainers this week was the Denver Broncos moving up 8 spots. And the biggest losers this week was the Cincinnati Bengals losing 8 spots in the Wedge 52 Gridiron Power Rankings. Now it's time to announce the Week 12 Him Performance of the Week. A couple of names that were in contention, names that were thrown around, names that were under consideration to win this week's Him Performance of the Week award include Rashawn Gary, Deron Bland, Kyron Williams, and Jalen Hurts. And this week's winner of the Him Performance of the Week goes to Los Angeles Rams running back Kyron Williams. Kyron Williams had 16 carries for 143 yards, as well as 6 catches for 61 yards and 2 touchdowns. His rushing average was good enough for nearly 9 yards per carry. All of this was done in his first game back after coming back off of the injured reserve list for the Rams. Congratulations to Kyron Williams on being the Week 12 Him Performance of the Week. Now moving into Week 13, several teams are on byes. That includes the Ravens, Bills, Bears, Raiders, Vikings, and Giants. Moving into these matchups, just some quick thoughts, initial things that I'm going to be looking for off the top of the head. No notes really, just the knowledge I've seen, on social media, on the news, in articles, over the past couple of days here. Thursday Night Football, Seahawks at Cowboys. Cowboys have been looking very, very good offensively and defensively. Defensively, I'm sure many of us have known about their, potential dominance, top 5 rankings. But that offense, I feel like, has sneakily been climbing, up close to that top 5 offensive status if they're not there already. And that Seattle Seahawks team has been struggling the past few weeks. They just lost to the 49ers, who are one of the top, 4 or 5 teams in the league. It should be a good one. Potentially one of the better Thursday night games we've had so far this season. Moving on to Sunday's action, the Lions at Saints. Detroit coming off the upset loss by the Green Bay Packers on Thanksgiving. And then the New Orleans Saints getting, kind of beat up on by their divisional opponent. Both of these teams I would expect to come out firing, ready to play, and ready to, continue winning. For the Lions, they're looking good in their division. But for the Saints, continuing to try and, sneak into that playoff spot, see if they can make something happen later down the season. Broncos at Texans. This one should be a good game. The Broncos are the hottest team in the league, according to, my power rankings. I'm sure according to many people's, thoughts, picks. The Broncos are on a 5-game win streak. The Texans just lost this week to the Jaguars, but are also, one of the hot teams around the league in terms of production and success over the last month or so. Rookie quarterback C.J. Stroud has been absolutely balling. I don't think he's quite to that level yet, but there has been talks about him, sneaking into that MVP conversation even. Broncos and Texans, this one I think should be a good test to both of these teams to see, which one is legit, which one, potentially these two teams are going to be fighting for that, 6th or 7th, seed, that wild card spot. The loser of this one could very well not make it because of this loss or win. It should be a good one for this Sunday. Next up is the Chargers at Patriots. Both these teams coming off a loss. Patriots have question marks at quarterback, to say the least. Chargers coming off yet another loss. They have been struggling in close games so far this season. The offense is there for the most part. Shut down a little bit this week by the Ravens defense. Patriots defense is not to the caliber of the Ravens. Chargers, they've been in a lot of close games. Do not have the record to, that they would prefer in those close games. Cardinals at Steelers this week. This one, Steelers, second game with the new coordinator, should see some more, new stuff kind of start to be implemented. And then the Cardinals coming off a, beat down kind of by their Rams, by the divisional opponent. The Cardinals have, a lot to work for. Kyler Murray has some things to try and prove and kind of, put his name in the running, re-show what he can do, so the managers, coaching staff, ownership, all of them, they have a decision to make come April. Kyler Murray is, needs to perform at his best from here on out, for his own personal success and chances in the future. Falcons at Jets. The Falcons, they fed Bijan, and it worked well for their offense. I would expect them to continue to do that in the games that Bijan Robinson gets more touches, gets more yards. It seems like the Falcons, have a higher chance of winning. The Jets have been struggling without quarterback Aaron Rodgers this whole season. They thought Zach Wilson was the issue. They started Boyle. The offense looked no better. So that one, what do you do in that situation? It's kind of hard to say. Moving to the Colts and the Titans, divisional game here. Titans just scraped by the Panthers last week. Colts beat the Bucks in a good game. I would not expect this one to be too close, although it is a divisional game, so you never know. Dolphins at Commanders. This one will be interesting because the Commanders have a, average to slightly below average defense, I would say. But their offense performs very well. I know they're under 500, but not by much. Dolphins have struggled against better teams. I'm wondering if that Commanders offense is enough, to kind of put up a struggle for the Dolphins, specifically that defense. They're going to be without edge rusher linebacker Jalen Phillips, who tore his Achilles last week and will be done for the season for that Dolphins defense. This one may be, more interesting than it appears initially on paper. Panthers head to Tampa Bay to face the Bucks. Bucks came off a disappointing loss. They were in that game the entire time, and then lost it there to the Colts. Bucks have been, they still have a shot at that division. Like I mentioned earlier, the Falcons are leading that division. I believe they're 5-6. They're one game under 500 and currently leading that division. The Bucks still have a chance. If they go on a streak, the Saints and the Falcons, lose a couple games. Every game matters for the Bucks, and this one against the Panthers is not one that they can sleep on. I know it's the Panthers, worst team in the league in my opinion, but it is the NFL. Anything can happen. There we go. Moving to the Browns at Rams. This one, the Rams just showed up. Their offense looked very, very good. Matthew Stafford kind of returned to what, we saw from him early on in the season. And then that Browns, team, we knew they were going to struggle on offense a bit without Watson. To be fair, they were struggling some on offense with Watson. However, against the Broncos, that defense really struggled, allowing 29 points, I believe, last week. The Rams are not an offense that can be slept on, much like the Broncos offense. That offense been performing much better than, initial thoughts. Not top 5, probably not top 10, but definitely average to above average. We just saw the Browns defense get exposed last week. Will that happen again? We will find out. And then potentially the game of the week, 49ers at Eagles. This one is a NFC throwdown between two powerhouses. My top 2 ranked NFC teams in the power rankings. Should be a good one. Potentially could shake up the Wedge 52 Gridiron power rankings. We will see how that one turns out. Definitely going to be a good game to watch. Both very good offenses, both very good defenses. It should be a good one. And then Sunday Night Football this week, the Chiefs at Packers. Packers just got the upset win over one of the top NFC teams. They could be riding on a high, maybe start the game out hot. And the Chiefs, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. They were down by 14 and still managed a way to win that game by 14, much because of the quarterback, Patrick Mahomes. That Patrick Mahomes is never out of a ball game. Even if the Packers do jump out to an early start here, I would expect this one, to be pretty favorable for the Kansas City Chiefs. And then the last game of the week, Monday Night Football, Bengals at Jaguars. Mr. Browning starting against the Jacksonville Jaguars in prime time. Away, it's not looking good for the Bengals. Jaguars offense has looked very good, for majority of the season. Calvin Ridley having a resurgence year. Christian Kirk has been a solid receiver. Travis Etienne having kind of a breakout year. And then T-Law, of course, performing kind of as I expected him to, good to above, good numbers, but not quite in that elite category, in my opinion. So that's all of the Week 13 quick matchups, preview thoughts off the top of my head, which leaves me with just one thing, and that is my Week 13 picks. In Week 12, I had a record of 11-5, bumping my season record up to 117-63. That's good enough for in 650 win percentage. My third week in a row getting double-digit wins. Games guessed correctly. I mean, it's not entirely a guess, but, anything can happen. Here's my picks for Week 13. Cowboys over the Seahawks, Lions over the Saints, Texans over the Broncos, Chargers over the Patriots, Steelers over the Cardinals, Falcons over the Jets, Colts over the Titans, Dolphins over the Commanders, Bucks over the Panthers, Rams over the Browns, 49ers over the Eagles, Chiefs over the Packers, and Jags over the Bengals. That's all I have for today's episode of the Wedge 52 Gridiron podcast. If you guys made it this far, I appreciate you all listening. Please share this podcast with your fellow NFL fans. Please, please, please. And press that follow button right here on Spotify. Thank you all for listening yet again, and go Ravens.